It is 2 in the morning and you are teetering on the absolute edge of your mattress. Your dog is somehow taking up 80% of the bed, sprawled out with utter disregard for your personal space or comfort. In the groggy haze of the night, it is easy to assume they are just seeking out the warmest spot in the room or following a stubbornly ingrained habit. You might even brush it off as simple clinginess, but you need to immediately shatter that assumption. When your dog presses their back against your legs or rests their chin over your ankles in the dark, they are not just looking for a heating pad. They are executing a highly calculated multi-millennium evolutionary and neurochemical decision. What is actively happening inside your dog's brain the exact moment they fall asleep beside you is so profound it redefines the entire concept of what a pet actually is. The reason they refuse to sleep anywhere else is not about comfort at all, but something far more complex that researchers are only just beginning to decode. To understand what is happening in the dark, we have to look at how your dog is fundamentally wired to view you. Researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest recently applied a famous psychological framework called the Ainsworth Strange Situation to canine behavior. Originally designed to study how human infants bond with their mothers, this framework measures 3 specific behaviors: proximity seeking, separation distress, and reunion calm. When they ran dogs through this exact same testing protocol, the results left scientists stunned. The behavioral patterns did not just look similar to human toddlers, they were a statistical mirror image. The researchers discovered that precisely 61% of dogs are securely attached to their owners. That is the exact same ratio of secure attachment found in human children interacting with their parents. When your dog insists on sharing your bed, they are not viewing you as a resource provider or a pack leader. They are engaging in the purest form of proximity-seeking behavior. By choosing to close their eyes and enter their most vulnerable physical state directly beside you, they are communicating something profound. They are telling you that out of everything they could choose to guard them in the dark, you are the single safest entity in their entire world. This deep psychological attachment is entirely driven by a very specific biological feedback mechanism that activates the moment you and your dog interact. A landmark study published in the journal Science by researchers at Asabu University in Japan mapped out this precise chemical loop. They monitored the brain chemistry of dogs and owners, focusing entirely on oxytocin, the exact same molecule responsible for the feeling of deep love. They found that when your dog looks at you, your brain experiences an immediate surge in oxytocin. In response, you instinctively look back at them or reach out to touch them. The moment you do, your dog's brain receives its own massive spike of oxytocin. The researchers then tried to replicate this exact same loop with wolves that had been hand-raised by humans from birth, bottle-fed, and socialized every single day. The chemical loop completely failed to activate. The wolves did not look into human eyes, and the oxytocin surge never happened. This biological synchrony is an exclusive privilege of the dog. When you let your dog up on the bed and spend just 10 minutes petting them before you turn out the lights, both of your bodies undergo a rapid physiological shift. That brief period of physical contact actively suppresses cortisol, the hormone responsible for stress and anxiety, flooding both of your nervous systems with bonding chemicals and physiologically preparing both of your bodies for deep, restorative sleep. This chemical exclusivity did not happen by accident. It was forged in the dark, roughly 15,000 years ago, long before humans had invented farming, written language, or permanent cities. Picture the ancient world, illuminated only by scattered campfires, with the silhouettes of wild wolves lurking at the very edge of the light. Somewhere in that darkness, a profound shift occurred. We know this because of a 14,000-year-old burial site discovered in Germany. Inside, Archaeologists found the remains of a severely sick dog that had contracted canine distemper. The physical evidence showed that early humans had painstakingly nursed this animal through 5 grueling weeks of intense illness, an act of sheer compassion in a brutal world where survival was a daily struggle. Over thousands of generations of these intimate interactions, the actual biological blueprint of the dog began to change. Scientists analyzing canine DNA have located specific genetic insertions on chromosome 6. These are mutations completely absent in wolves, and they are directly responsible for canine hypersociability. We did not merely tame wild animals to guard our settlements. Through millennia of shared fires, shared food, and shared sleep, humans literally rewrote the canine genetic code, altering their DNA so fundamentally that a biological need for human presence was permanently woven into their species. Yet, from a purely clinical standpoint, sleeping with this genetically engineered companion presents a massive contradiction. Data collected by sleep specialists at the Mayo Clinic clearly shows that dogs objectively disrupt human sleep cycles. They kick, they scratch, they shift their weight, and they dream. By all standard medical metrics, having a dog in your bed degrades the physical quality of your rest. But psychological data paints a vastly different picture. A comprehensive 2024 study out of the University of Jyväskylä in Finland proved that despite the physical disruptions, pet owners consistently report feeling vastly more rested and secure when their dog is present in the room. The explanation for this paradox lies in a biological phenomenon known as heart rate variability co-regulation. When your dog curls up against your leg and breathes heavily into the blankets, their autonomic nervous system begins to emit a rhythmic, calming frequency. Because of the deep emotional bond between you, your own nervous system subconsciously detects this rhythm and literally synchronizes its pulse with theirs. If a completely unfamiliar human were to sleep in the exact same room, your body would remain subconsciously alert and guarded. But your brain recognizes the specific biological signature of your bonded dog, allowing your nervous system to fully disarm and plunge into a state of profound psychological safety. Because this need to sleep near you is so deeply embedded in their DNA, you must pay immediate attention if this behavior ever suddenly changes. If your dog has spent years sleeping at your feet and abruptly starts isolating themselves in another room or choosing the cold floor over the mattress, it is never a random behavioral quirk. It is a biological alarm bell. There are 2 deeply concerning reasons for this shift that require immediate action. The first is hidden physical pain. The sheer physical effort required to jump up onto a mattress or navigate soft, shifting blankets is often the very first detectable sign of osteoarthritis or joint deterioration. They want to be next to you, but the pain of the climb finally outweighs the neurochemical reward. The second, and far more devastating reason, is cognitive decline. Veterinary neurologists estimate that 35% of dogs over the age of 8 will develop canine cognitive dysfunction, which is the canine equivalent of dementia. This disease systematically destroys their spatial memory and their established sleep routines. They stop sleeping in your bed because their deteriorating brain literally loses the capacity to remember how safe it feels to be there. You must watch for these subtle shifts with a careful, compassionate eye, because your dog relies entirely on you to notice the things they cannot say. So tonight, when you inevitably find yourself pushed to the absolute farthest edge of your mattress at 2 in the morning, do not sigh and try to push them away. Look at them breathing softly in the dark. They did not end up in that spot by accident or out of a stubborn desire to annoy you. Out of every single person they have ever met, every scent they have ever tracked, and every option available to them in the world, their ancient, genetically altered brain calculated that their ultimate safety exists only by your side. They chose you. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly what percentage of the bed your dog is going to take up tonight. But this deep nighttime bond is only half the story. Because what happens when you wake up and look directly into your dog's eyes involves a psychological mechanism so intense, it actually mirrors how we fall in love with other humans. And the science behind that gaze is even more mind-bending than what we just uncovered.